Here's the GT100 as you might not recognise it. It's a typical Roland product inside. It's very well made, and it's completely up to date as you can guess, because it's just come out. In fact, I got this one today. Take a look at the board. A load of Roland proprietary chips on there. As you can see, some memory chips, processor, and all the other good little bits and pieces that you get on the board when you buy it, which unfortunately doesn't mean much because they're all Roland proprietary. But there again, you do get 38 seconds or thereabouts in mono to record your loop, and 19 seconds in stereo because they were miserable with the memory. But that's just a story of how you make it cheap. It's well enough made. Can you change the parts out if you get a problem? No. Is it typically a Japanese type of product? Yeah. Is it cost effective for them? Yeah. Is it cost effective for you? Well, I guess it is compared to some of those other things that I've looked at over the years. Nice and easy to get at as well. Just take the cover off, a few screws as you'll see lying around the desk, and you're in business. Anyway, I just thought I wanted to show everybody what it was actually like inside the GT100. It's probably the first view anybody's had. There you go. Just in case you didn't know, it's a Roland power supply, runs off the main, just a figure of 8 cable. Get your figure of 8 cable. This one's for the UK, as you can see via the plug. And it's 5 amp fuse. Oh, what's the spec of this? Let's take a look. I remember right, it's 100 to 240 volts, which means that you can import the Roland GT100 from anywhere. Nice. It's 9 volts as you'd expect it to be. It will be DC because it's what's called a switch mode power supply, and it's what we got here, 2 amp out at 9 volts. Well, that's nice. We've also got the handbook. I usually talk a little bit about handbooks. This one's nice. It's nice and small. It's got about 60 pages. You see 62 there. It covers all the usual rubbish, all the connections you can have, all the sounds, all the little. Well, it's like a typical Roland manual. But one good thing about it is it's a little bit thinner than some I've seen, and it's decidedly thinner than some I'd like to forget. But you all know what that one is, don't you? There you go. GT100 manual. Nice and simple, by the way. Easy to use by the look of it, and we're going to find out in a minute. There's the last shots of what you see with the GT100 inside, and I'm going to screw my lid back on anytime soon. Not a lot to talk about. Well, the only one thing I did think was a bit mean, if you look down there, you see how tight that cable is, and how loose them are, because it's all sort of arse about face, but that's life. These are okay. Very nice, but that one isn't. I would like some of that, but there you go. But I guess this is what everybody's more familiar with, looking at the top and things like that. Well, we'll have a look at it out in the studio a bit later, but let's have a quick rundown. You've got the two now infamous screens for different parameters on the amps, or actually you've got amp A and B as well. It's very nice. Makes everything easy to use, and the control knobs help a lot. You've got the usual stuff, the bank up, the bank down. You've got a manual mode that turns these pedals into individual effects. You've got a tuner and a metronome. You've also got the 4 preset things there. You've got a Prese loop, which is nice. It's about 38-39 seconds if you're in mono. But if you're not in mono, it's down to about 19 seconds in stereo, which I think is a bit mean. And there's no method of upgrading the RAM, you know, like they could have put a USB stick on the outside or something like that. Well, they didn't bother. So there you go. You're having 38 seconds or 19, so get lost. That's it. That's all you're having. Roland says so. Then we've got this Excel, what they call Excel / control pedal. Well, control comes back from the previous models like the GT8, the GT whatever, and the GT5 even, I think. That goes that far. You've got, again, the same old pedal that's been on all of them to date. You've got an output level, nice and easy to use. Effects, systems, easy tone, bit like the earlier model. GT10 had like a sort of crosshairs on the screen. It has basically the same thing. You control, expression, exit and right, and left and right on the pages. And apart from that, these are definable, I believe, from some of what I've read up to now, but I haven't quite got there yet. You've also got across the top DC in, you've got power, MIDI in, MIDI out. You've got a USB connection, which I'll talk about in a moment. We've got this sub control and expression pedal, amp control. I'm not sure if it'll work on a Mesa Boogie, but it should do, but it might not. They say in the manual, try it. Fancy that. You've got a return and send, just like you'd guess. Phones, if you like phones, left and right, left mono, auxiliary in. If you want to put your iPod, iPad, Applite, piece of rubbish in there, I use a Sony myself. And then you've got the input for the guitar. And that about sums up most of it, except back round here to that exciting little bit there. There it is. Yeah, USB to computer it says. All very nice. One thing you do want to watch though is don't just go and plug this straight into your computer, because you shouldn't. What you've got to do, they're getting cheaper and cheaper, boys. You've got to go to the Roland site these days and download the specialist driver for the GT100's USB computer interface and install that first, and then plug this in. Okay, so let's get this right. Download the driver, put it on your PC, and then plug this into the USB. If you don't do that, you can end up with all sorts of trouble. This connectivity into your PC is usually quite nice. It's good to see that. You've also got a lift and ground here, which is nice, because when you're plugging this thing into your amp, you'll often get ground loops. You can just flip that and hope that it solves the problem. All the rest of it, pretty much really what you can expect to see on every Roland to date. Every foot pedal that I've had, nearly everything's there. In fact, it looks so familiar to the GT10. If it was a different colour and had one screen, I'd say that it was, but it isn't. So there. Oh, there's a couple of last things. I like this one. I like a number 69 myself. Yeah, it is. It's called a Chinese takeaway. So there you go. And the very last thing I want to talk about, so you're not all getting completely bored, is it weighs a ton, and it's nearly 11 pounds in weight, excluding the AC adapter, or 4.8 kilos if you're a lunatic from Europe. Oh, sorry, no, they're not your lunatics, are they? No, they just sport banks. There you go. Okay guys, well here we are. I only have the camera just as a run of the mill today, and it's not picking up audio in any particular way except straight to the camera, so be aware of that. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the unit, the GT100, and you know, some of the ways that it's a little bit different, and some of the simplistic things that you can do that you couldn't do before so easily. Because it's got these two screens, it just makes everything so much easier. For example, when you get one of these, you've got to set it up for the particular type of amp you're going to drive it out of, because really it's a bit like having a preamp, this thing. And what you do simply is, if you think of the two screens like so, press system, what you get is this thing here, what you can move around, and you notice this screen changes. I want to stay on that one for now. And you can see in this window that this has been set up for the stack return, and if I want to just change them, I can just whiz through all the different choices are there. So it makes it really easy to choose which one you want. Very simple, whereas you've got no menus, you've got nothing. Because you've got the two screens, you've got what you're targeting, and then you can target, you know, sort of churn down into the various options in that second screen, and that applies to every single thing, whether it's be the effects or as in this case the output type or what have you. Awesome, really. Another thing you've got, if you take a look at the two screens, you've got these knobs across the bottom here and descriptions of what each one does. Knocked one. What each one does above it on the screen. So if we was to stay on this patch, I can change patches all easily with the knobs, and that's not what I'm interested in. If we move across with the page buttons here, this is the settings for amplifier A. In this thing you've got in effect 2 amps or 2 channels, I like to think of it as. This one's set to A, and you can see where the gain is there on this particular amp, and we've got an AB here, so if I just whiz it across you'll see that the gain hops up because channel B is a more driven amp. See that? And the middle's been pushed up a little bit and things like that. And of course you can carry on down here and you can have a look at the various things that have been set up for it. Bit of reverb, bit of this, bit of that. Let's go back. That's a simple example. So bear in mind there's no menus in the thing. Let's take a quick look at some of the effects on this amplifier A on this preset. So we press the effects. You'll see we've got in effect I shouldn't have said that. We've got this chain that sort of moves around. We can sort of whiz down and have a look at all these various effects on this amplifier. We can turn them on, turn them off. But if you notice that window there, whichever one I choose, let's go back down here. If I choose this, the parameters for this pedal are in that window. There's no messing around. Quite nice really. And there's the amp with preamp B, because I'm choosing preamp B. I'm now back on A, preamp A, and you can see that the parameters change, and I can, for each amp, or for each choice in here, I can move around with this page. All very easy, all very nice and simple. No figuring out, no faffing around for hours on end, and you just adjust it in real time, which saves hours. We got another feature in here which once again it's a bit like everything else. It's very easy to choose and very easy to adjust. It's called Easy Tone. So you're not stuck with just what you've got here. You can very quickly move along into other areas of the job. If we look at this here, it's talking about patch create, and in this window we've got a pile of choices. It's a bit more like the GT10 used to be really, I guess. Or something very similar at least, but you're not faffing around on one screen any longer. You can just whiz through these and watch what happens there, and you can just choose whichever one you want. Very nice. If you like that sort of thing, I've just left it back as it is. When you've done enough of that and you've chosen whatever you want, you can write the thing out to a memory point, and you're back where you were. Give it another name, off you go. All very simple, like I said. Something I forgot to just mention, if you go back in there again and we look at what we were looking at, we've got this patch create, and we can sort of choose one of these down here somewhere. Let's choose that one. Then you can sort of move on a little bit to what looks a bit familiar to what was in the GT10. In fact, it's almost the same. you can move these this little dot around so that it can make the tone more like a solo tone, a hard or a soft tone, or a backing tone, or whatever they want. And you've got lots of other things that you can mess around with. I'm going to just come out of that anyway for now, because I don't really want to do any of that. Let's get back to where we were and exit. You've also got a very nice manual mode if you're one of them guys that likes to just press effects on and off as you play. And how you get to that is just whack these two down together, and you can see there the effects that are attributed to the pedals are in the windows there. Nice and easy. And when you've had enough of that, you can just push that back. Now you can actually set any effect up to any pedal, so none of that's difficult. It's using the two window thing, and it's a piece of cake, honestly. You've got another feature on this unit called the Excel effect. On the old GT10 you used to have the control, but if you notice here it's Excel stroke control, and that's depending on which patch you've got set up. So if there's an Excel set up for that particular patch, if you will, when you hit this you'll get that effect. It usually just toggles on and off when there's an Excel there. It's just not the right patch for it, but that's the basic idea. And you can control it once again what the Excel does, and most of the sort of demo ones they've got in there act like a sort of a whammy pedal, really, you know, up an octave or two, and that sort of thing. Well, what have we got round the back? I did talk about it a little bit earlier. you know, when we were doing the sort of video shot. Well, we've got a DC in, we've got power, we've got a MIDI in and out. We've got a USB port there that I'm going to show you a little bit more about later on. Sub-control and expansion pedal goes in there. Amp control, whether it will control Mesa Boogie is another story, but it might, it probably won't. You've got a send and return there. Headphones there, left mono and right there. You've got an auxiliary in, so you Appleites can put your Apple in there and play to until your heart's content. And you've got the guitar input. And that about sums up the back, really. All nice and simple. The thing that's really changed, I guess, is the USB. And it's done away with the you know, the light pipe type of thing that was on the back previously. If you want different output level, all very simple, just turn it to where you want it, job done. What you can see is this is in the effect edit chain. This is the single signal here. If we just whiz back, that's where it all starts, comes down here till it hits this thing here. Now that's called a divider, and you'll notice that it sort of splits the signal across into two. If we carry on back, we've got another one there, but that's actually called a mixer. You can see in the right hand channel, and when we go to the other point, we get divider. We can switch it on and off and things like that. We choose different amp, and when we go back to there, we can switch the mixer into mono or stereo. It's in mono at the moment, so you can see actually that only one of these is effective. The other one's a dotted line. You can effectively use the divider to switch between channels A and B, to assign strong pick notes or soft pick notes to different channels, to assign different frequency bands to your guitar sound. Very nice, he says. The mixer lets you adjust the volume balance of channels A and B, you know, put them in the stereo field and stuff like that. So overall it's a pretty flexible product, but I guess if you don't have a stereo setup, then you're going to be stuck in this mono mode forever. Well, that's just life, isn't it? Let me exit that. That amp control we spoke about earlier on is actually, you can set it within a preset, so it's almost like having an effect that's on or off, and that controls your amp, you know. Obviously it depends which amp you've got, and it depends whether this thing can switch the amp properly. I don't really think it'll switch your Mesa Boogie right, but I'm going to give it a go, and it may do. But don't be surprised if it doesn't. But it is per patch, so bear that in mind. On the send and return, you can also do that really per patch. What happens effectively is that, let's imagine we've got an external pedal there and we send out through the send and get it back in through the return. That just becomes, in effect, wrong word, it becomes another effect in the chain. So we can just add that in to any patch we want to. Nice. What we're talking about patches, by the way, there's 200 user patches and 200 pre-stored patches, which are factory patches. So plenty of room for you to do your own thing. And of course you can get it all back as you could on the GT10 with a factory reset. Nice. Actually, you could save those parameters either through MIDI, you know, all your settings through MIDI, or you can save them now with the right bits and pieces through that USB out, which is really useful. Something hyped in this particular unit, let me just zap back a bit. Something much hyped, in fact, is the Prese Looper. Now don't think that that's going to be like some of them other Roland Prese Loopers. I forget which one it is now, but I think it was a 50 something or other. It's not going to be like that. The real nasty part about this Prese Loop is this, that you can go and do all your recordings. Now I'll show you how to do that a bit later, and you can get it in there all nice and have it playing back great, and then when you come out the Prese Loop it just forgets it. Or even worse, you leave the Prese Loop on and turn the machine off, and then it'll forget it. There's no way of storing that Prese Loop whatsoever, so other than a little bit of quick playing, it's basically useless, I guess. Don't you? Bit like the GT10, you can control this thing, what it does, you know, which parameters it controls, and you can do that with the external pedal as well, which, let me have a look in here, tells me that the EV5 will work nicely. I'm sure it will, especially at Roland's prices. They would say that, wouldn't they? I'd go and look for a Behringer one, but there you go. I'm a cheapskate. Anyway, it does exactly what it says on the can. It's over there, just off camera, or maybe just on camera. And what more can I say? It's already pre-programmed as well for the most part, so that's what I use it for. You got a couple more things in here. If you press these two down here, you get a tuner on the left hand side and a metronome on the right. All very nice. I'm still looking for the drummer. I don't think there's one in there. Well, maybe there is. Actually there isn't. Oops, I'm knocking the camera. Actually there isn't, no. What there is I guess it's one way of being able to set some effects up to a particular tempo or number of beats for the Prese Looper, or I'm sure you can come up with 1,000 reasons why you wouldn't use that, like me really. So let's get rid of it. There it goes. Oh, and don't forget, when you're in this system thing and you're choosing the output thing, don't forget to whiz along, whoops, choose the right button, and choose the input, and that's the input for your guitar volume. You know, if you've got a particularly weak guitar, you can crank it a bit there, and if it's cranking the place out, you can back it off a bit there. All very nice. So we can whiz along back to there, and we'll come back out to that. There's another little nicety on this that I can't easily show you unless we make the tape 10 hours long, but I don't think we will. But basically, if you leave it turned on and you happen to wander off back into the house at 2 AM, turn everything else off, when you come back in the morning, this will be turned off, because you can set it up so that, well, it may not be turned off, but you can set it up so that it turns itself off after about 10 hours. That's really great if you just spent 3 hours on that Prese loop, don't forget. Huh? And then in the morning it turns itself off and your Prese loop's gone belly up, and that was goodbye from that, and that was fun. I'm sure it would be. Now Roland are actually pretty well known for all of their MIDI controls, and this has got an extensive list of MIDI CC changes and all that sort of stuff in the back of the manual if you really want to get in there and get down to it. But it's probably set up, as most of them are, like the GT10 was and that GT8 thing, with pretty much standard control parameters for the MIDI. So unless you're going to be a lunatic, don't waste your time going there. But if you want to use MIDI, you'll have to. Now we've got another little ditty on this one. I'll zoom in a bit closer. Not that I'm going to actually touch it. Well, I might as well touch it. It looks nice. But like I said earlier, you've got this this USB on the back here. By the way, it doesn't come with a USB cable either. Talk about cutting it tight. No USB cable, so you've got to go and get your own that's long enough to get to your PC, probably in the other room like mine is. So you want this 20-foot USB cable. I don't think you get much longer than that. Anyway, you go and don't go and plug it in, because that's the first mistake you'll make. What you've got to do is you've got to go whizzing across to the internet, right, to the Roland Boss site to download the driver. And if you don't do that, guess what? If you plug this into your PC and you don't download the driver, you get yourself into all sorts of tizwazzies and bothers. So what you really want to do is whiz over to the Boss Roland site, download the driver, install the driver, and then plug this in. All sounds great, yeah. That's another area where they're cutting back, you see. The box that this came in no longer had the nice shiny graphic box on there. It was just a plain old brown box with GT100 stamped on. The USB drivers aren't included, and neither is the USB cable. Very nice for £399 in England, or near enough $600 in the US, I guess. It won't be far out either way, but you can see that there are areas where they cut back. Yeah, what I was saying was this USB thing anyway. It's all a great idea because it isn't on the previous models. But what you can do is get that driver installed on your PC, go out and buy a USB cable, which they're going to make you do, and plug it all in, and then you can use a program on your PC to record the output of this thing right through the USB, which is quite nice really, I guess. Bit of an improvement over what they used to have, because they were sort of lacking a bit, weren't they? And many of the other companies that you see around with pedals have that facility. This one, the Roland GT, whatever it was, well, GT10, didn't have that, and neither did its predecessors. So it was getting a bit dinosaur mode. But the other thing you can do with it as well is to play music from your PC back through the USB to this unit. I guess if you've got headphones on, you'd be able to hear it. Now, there's not much mention about a thing called latency in the manuals or anywhere else, indeed. But I suspect that if you are recording out and it's playing back so you can hear it, what you're going to end up with is a bit of a latency problem, especially if there's loads of stuff going up and down there. But I've never tried it yet, but we shall see. I'm sure the other guys out there will have probably had it plugged in and tried it by now, but I take my time, you know. It's not something I'm going to use every 2 seconds of the day. Just looking through the manual here, we've got absolutely, let me pick it up, we've got absolutely a load of effects. We've got compressors, overdrives, preamps, EQs, FX1, FX2s, delays, chorus and reverbs, and then it hobbles on to tell you all the different overdrive settings. Just for the overdrives, you've got mid boost, clean boost, treble boost, crunch, natural overdrive, warm overdrive, fat distortion, lead distortion, metal distortion, oct fuzz, blues overdrive, moves on to vintage, OD1, tube screamer, that'll be turbo overdrive, distortion rat, governor, distortion plus, metal zone, 60s fuzz, muff fuzz, custom overdrives. What else we got? No, and it moves on to other stuff, but that's just the overdrives. So it's quite an extensive unit, really. You know, full of things that you're definitely going to use one way or another. But I have to say that I did have a play of this earlier, and some of those sounds in there are quite good. I've seen guys on the internet slagging the sounds in this, but I don't think they're as bad as what they suggest. You always get guys that you know, they like audiophiles. Some of them, you know what it is. They can tell the difference between a £50,000 record player, for want of a better word, and one that's £1,000. Well, I can't tell the difference. Your audience won't tell the difference, and to be honest, you probably won't tell the difference either. So there are limits to everything, but with this particular unit, I don't think it sounds that bad. Some of the even pre-programmed stuff in there, I've got a list of settings that are quite interesting. Well, that piece of paper on there is all a bit double Dutch to you. What it was most of the ones that I sort of ran through reasonably quickly with a mate, and we decided which ones are good ones and which ones weren't. There's a lot more good ones in there than there's not good ones in there, but like the usual thing with Roland, I'll take that away now, the usual thing with Roland is, to be honest, they always have some crap sounds towards the end. So once you get knocking on towards your 200 sounds, you'll start getting the things that you don't really want to bother wasting your time with. So you might like them, I don't. I don't know many ordinary people that are going to spend loads and loads of time on some of those weirdo sounds at the end. You know, the ones, the crappy effects that nobody ever uses except that guy who does the demo. You know, the one with the blonde hair, I forget his name these days. But there he is. I'm just going to go around and hook this looper in by pressing the phase loop. It's Prese loop, should I say. Oh, by pressing Prese loop. And now you can sort of just record, you know, a sort of a bit of a backing thing. So you can just go away with it. You have to hit the pedal at the right time. 1, 2, 3, 4. says it's a boogie lead, and I guess it probably is actually. So which boogie? Who knows? This one's sort of really bottom ended in here. I don't know what it'll sound like on there, but it sounds good here. Modern metal. And you can guess what it is, can't you? There you have it. XLO control pedal. Who knows what that does? Changes it. There you go. Think of it as amp 2. You've probably got a pedal. This one's tight clean UO5-4. First without the control off and then with it on. It's just a clean sound really. With it on. This one sounds a bit woolly to me, but it's a clean sustain. So without the effect on, it's just it fades away. With the control pedal on, it just hangs in there. This one's U08-1, it's called Power Chord. Reminds me of a band I used to listen to an awful lot, particularly on the first album, Fantasy Girls, a very long time ago. And yeah, Charlie. The sound's there, I mean in here it's right, but whether it's right on there is another story. U21-4, deep chorus, stereo chorus it says here. U23-3 type crunch. Control pedal in. Now here, listen up. I'm not going to play this one, but I keep finding this guy everywhere. I think this guy, right, he's one of the engineers, and he's programmed a sound in here with his name. Yeah, this is user 23-4, I said there's a P23-4 too, so you can never get rid of him. His name Reggie. Reggie, there he is. It's like when I used to go to the festivals, Wally, you know, that's Reggie. I'm sure that's got to be something to do with it. This one's U24-2, I'm going to run out of things to do in a minute, so I'm not going to carry on all night doing this. This is feedback control. It's quite interesting really, if you just play a chord and watch what happens. U38-2, high gain lead 2 it says. Sounds good. Or does it? I don't know. U39-2 harmony lead in E minor it says here. Here's one of those Excel sounds. I hate it honestly. U41-1 Pasadena Plexi. I'm sure it isn't. It doesn't sound anything like Pasadena Plexi, but neither do I. So don't worry. It's just a funny bit of how it works. Suppose if we were here. U50-1 metal guitar with bass it says here. Suppose it is. Well here guys, we've ran through a few of the sounds and they do sound better here than they probably will on the tape, but they're not perfect by any means, and I'm sure that people will sit there, spend a long time with that unit trying to get better sounds, or sounds that they like, as opposed to sounds that are in it. The guys that programmed it in like the sounds that are in it, else they wouldn't be there. So it's a bit of a conundrum really, but let's hope that when you get your sounds out of that, that they're the sounds that your audience like rather than you. Because if your audience don't like it, no matter how you sound, does it? They'll leave. That's what happens. I normally talk about things like manuals and things. This is 60 pages. It's a very short manual, very simple to use. There's no menus on the product, don't forget. It's just, honestly, very, very simple. Which is nice again. Let's throw that over there. Those are the things I like to see. Simplistic methods of use and setting up and playing and things like that. And there's no more simplistic playing than mine, especially on these videos. I'm terrible on video. But don't worry, I'm not going to tell anybody, so you just keep it to yourself. The GT100, I think overall is like a GT10 with a USB port. I think for me at least, the XL pedal, hopeless. I think the looper, hopeless once the mains goes off. There's no story in that one. And I think it's a nicer colour. I like black and gold goes well. I like the two things, I like the menus, I like all the bits and pieces, but I'm not overly keen on the sounds. What was actually being recorded, it was coming through a return on a Marshall YJM100. So I don't really think there's anything wrong with the Marshall YJM100. So if there's any sounds that don't sound quite nice, guess what? Well, you'll figure that out, I'm sure. Roland said on this one that it was coming out in February. Well, if it's February now, I'll eat my hat. What hat? This hat. The one with TonyMcKenzie.com on. Had to get that in again. Yeah, stop falling over. Okay. Take two. And don't forget to check everything else at TonyMcKenzie.com, because there's piles of stuff on there. It's never ending, man. It's never ending. I don't get any sleep. Now get out of here.